My name is Jordan Hayes, and I built a marketing agency that's done over $2.8 million in revenue since we started. And last year, we scaled to over $1 million in revenue as an agency. And in this video, I'm going to share what no one talks about when it comes to being able to scale to $1 million per year with their agency. But not only that, being able to maintain that and continue growing that year over year. Because just getting to $1 million in a year, I mean, great, but can you maintain it? Can you grow it? And specifically, I'm going to talk about 5 changes that any agency owner must make to scale to $1 million. So let's get right into it. Getting to 500K in agency revenue is hard, but the transition from 500K to $1 million is exponentially harder, and you're going to see why in just a moment. And most agencies plateau between 500K and 750K forever. I almost became one of those statistics. Here are 5 big changes that I had to make to get to over 1 million in 2025. And even if you're an agency owner watching this, already doing over $1 million with your agency, there might be a few things in this video that maybe you're still doing the old way, right? So there's 5 things that I changed that I saw a big difference in scaling and doubling the revenue, but maybe you only change 3 of those things. Maybe there's 2 missing, maybe there's 1 missing, maybe there's more than that. So I would encourage you to continue watching this video, even if you're doing over $1 million with your agency. So before we get into it, why listen to me? I'm Jordan Hayes. As I mentioned, I run Hayes Media. We are a marketing agency that works with e-commerce brands, founded in 2020, scaled that to over $1 million per year in revenue. And we work with some great brands with great case studies, testimonials. And you can come to our website and check us out. We're a real company, hayesmedia.co. I've also co-founded this software, Yando.io, which was built out of a need to have a stronger, accurate pulse on our team that is fully remote. How do we know whose workload is getting out of control? How do we know who's engaged, collaborating, who's doing more work, then who's joining meetings that they don't need to be on, who's not joining meetings that they should be joining, all these different things that we don't have visibility into, that we would have visibility into in an office setting. But with a remote team, it's very, very difficult to see these things. So we built a software to track everything that we have access to. No private surveillance, no weird spying stuff. It's literally just access to the tools that we already use and things that I can already see. Slack channels, email threads, meetings that I'm on, Notion areas. And what it does is it uses all those data points, the message sentiment, the response times, the collaboration engagement, context, and it feeds you scores on each individual team member to say who's at risk of leaving the company, whose workload is too high, who's engaged, who's collaborating, who's not, and what are the specific reasons why that is. So very, very exciting stuff. If you want to run a stronger remote team and you want to keep your clients longer and you don't want your A players to leave, you want to be able to solve issues as they happen and not have to wait till things get beyond repair. Come over to Yando.io and check us out. Right? So a couple of years ago at my marketing agency, we were stuck at 500K and I was working 70-hour weeks, personally managing accounts, watching profit margins shrink. So what we're going to be covering in today's video is 5 different things. 1, the leadership paradox. 2, when to fire yourself from delivery. 3, team restructuring. 4, the 3 financial decisions that determine if you break through to $1 million and beyond. And 5, the identity shift that must be made. So let's get cracking. The first one is leadership paradox. So at 500K, I realized that I was the bottleneck. Right? We couldn't grow because I was the constraint. All the skills that got me to 500K per year were preventing me from scaling further. Being a great operator is your superpower early on. You're close to clients, you understand the work, and you can save projects if things are going the wrong way. Or at 500K, this becomes your prison, right? I was still the lead strategist on top accounts. I was reviewing every piece of creative. I was on every important call. Everything had to go through me. And I was operationally excellent, but strategically bankrupt. The paradox here is that you have to let go of being the best operator to become the best CEO your business needs. And those are 2 different things, right? Operations and being the chief executive, leading the vision, steering the ship, 2 different things. So those have to be separated. That's what I've found. Otherwise, you're going to find yourself constantly in a battle of trying to do the strategic thinking and the vision of the company and how do we get more clients. And also, you're going to be stuck in operations and like, what systems do we need? And why is this client performance not working? Like all these things, right? And that's just going to keep you stuck. So this is the first thing that I guess you have to realize. Maybe you already realize it, but you have to internalize it and you have to make those decisions. So what I did was someone in my company, I promoted them to operations position, right? And now with 2 different departments in our company, we have leaders, operations, right? Those guys lead operations and team, right? They oversee the clients, they oversee the work, they oversee the team. They identify where we need to hire. They identify where we need to maybe let go of a client, those sorts of things, right? They build systems for operations and they make the service that we deliver better. I don't focus on those things. We have other people in my company to do that. And that's how we've been able to grow. So point number 2, when do you fire yourself from client delivery? Probably 6 months before you think you should. See, at 500K revenue, working 70-hour weeks on client work, I was paying myself less than my senior account managers. And what this meant was I was the most expensive delivery person in my agency, right, as the owner. So fire yourself when your time during work prevents you from building systems that scale the work. And this usually happens around 400 to 500K per year in revenue. And at that point, you want to spend 70% of your time on building processes, recruiting team, making sure your team is happy, and making sure your team is incentivized properly. And this is also a big shift in incentivization, because if you have people in operations positions within your agency that oversee client work, that oversee team, you want to make sure that those people are incentivized properly. And what does that mean? It means that if they achieve specific outcomes that are aligned with the growth of your company and where you want to take it, they're rewarded for that, right? They get a bonus, a piece of the pie. And that incentivizes them to do the actions required to scale your company to where you want to take it. So my 90-day transition when firing myself from delivery looked like this. Month 1, document everything, right? We created Notion pages with systems and processes. Loom videos. Month 2, train and shadow. So you show someone else how to do it and you shadow them, right? You say, you show me how to do it now. And then you verify that they understand how to do it. Once they get it, month 3 is full handoff with weekly check-ins. You fully hand it off, but then you check in. You hold them accountable to the same things that you were doing. And within 6 months of removing myself from delivery, our annual revenue run rate jumped from 500K to 800K. And I was finally working on growth instead of fulfillment. And this was the really big shift that happened. So let's talk about Team Restructure. Here's a hard truth. The team that got you to 500K per year in revenue probably isn't the team that gets you to $1 million and beyond. Here's why. Because at 500K per year, you usually can't afford great talent, right? Your margins just don't allow for it. And if you're involved in client delivery at this stage, then you're probably compensating for a team that is not good enough. And if you've really tried stepping out of the day-to-day operations to let your team handle client delivery instead of you, and things have fallen to pieces, then you might need a better team and better systems. So here are a few changes that we made. First of all, structure. In the early days, we didn't have clearly defined specialized roles in our company. We had people covering many jobs, wearing many hats, and the change that we made was in establishing more structure and then hiring better people to fill those specialized roles. A lot of people say that scaling an agency team is most effective with a pod structure, and I agree with them. However, it's not linear. 2 pods can have the same number of clients and team members, but not the same workload. So what we had to do was adjust team and client numbers in pods depending on the workload required for each client. And if you're also following a similar pod structure when scaling your agency, I would recommend just keeping this in mind. Don't fall into the same trap that we did, because workload can get out of hand and you're eventually going to have to make changes later down the road. Here are 3 financial decisions that determine if you break through to $1 million per year plus with your marketing agency. Decision number 1, do you give away a piece of the pie or do you keep 100% of it? As it currently stands, you may or may not have people on your team who are incentivized with a percentage of company profit or stock options, right? Although it's usually profit at this stage. Most agency owners are terrified to give up a small percentage of their profit. But here's what they don't realize. If you want world-class talent that grows your business for you, and as a result makes the company less reliant on you, you have to be willing to give them a piece of the pie. And what I found is profit share is one of the best ways to incentivize people, and it aligns their incentives perfectly. You want to make more profit? So you incentivize them to make more profit for your company, and they also get a percentage of the profit, right? So if the profit grows, they earn more money. And the way that we do profit share is very simple. But leaders get a percentage of the whole business, and the rest of the team underneath them gets a percentage of the profit from the clients that they manage. We have a tiered structure where the higher the profit that we make as a business across clients, the higher the percentage each individual gets. And what this means is that everyone is aligned on getting better results for clients and growing company profit. So my advice here is to give up a piece of the pie, 15 to 20% of your total profit spread across your whole full-time team. Now, if you have over 50 team members, this obviously becomes less doable, in which case you want to incentivize the people who drive the biggest growth for your company. Decision number 2, do you specialize in your services or do you diversify and add more services? So we face this decision as well. And a lot of agencies face this where they can easily upsell existing clients on more services and make more money. But if they fail to deliver those additional services, it can damage the client relationship and even cost them the client. And I can tell you for a fact that having less services and doing them better than anyone else is almost always better than having more services. But I know agencies that do over 10 million per year revenue and they have 2 or 3 services maximum. So in this context, when we're talking about scaling to $1 million per year, I would just focus on 2 services. And when you do this, acquiring clients becomes easier, client results and client retention improves, operations are smoother because you have less individual roles that you need to hire for, and overall, it's an easier business to run and grow. So now decision 3, personal brand versus hiding. So to get to 500K per year in revenue, you may not have required a personal brand, but to scale to $1 million plus and maintain that, I found that building a personal brand, showing your authority, it allows you to keep a full pipeline of clients waiting to work with you. You no longer face big swings in revenue if clients leave because you have other clients waiting to come on board. And in 2025, my personal brand made over 120K in revenue from my agency with a 15x return on investment. And that is the difference between plateau and growth. And the personal brand was one of the biggest things that allowed us to grow to over $1 million per year in revenue. And I have another video on my channel that goes through and breaks down exactly how I've done that. So I'll make sure to link that around this video or down below. So now let's talk about the fifth and final point, the identity shift. One of the hardest things of growing a marketing agency to over $1 million per year in revenue is the identity shift. And in my case, for years, my identity was tied to doing great work, but that had to change. So I went from delivering work myself to focusing more on building systems, recruiting, setting the vision for the team, cash flow forecasting, one-on-ones, documenting processes, etc. And for 6 months, I hated it. I felt disconnected from the work I loved, but my value was no longer in doing the work. Instead, my value was in building the machine that does the work. And the breakthrough that I faced was that my team didn't need me to be the best operator. There was other people on my team who were better at that than me. What they needed me to be is the clearest leader: vision, direction, support, and resources. And that's the job of a CEO within a marketing agency. If you've made it this far, you're serious about scaling your agency. So I want you to assess where you are right now, honestly. Are you specializing, or are you trying to do everything? And I want you to go back through this video and answer where you're at for each of the 5 stages that we covered. Right? Answer the questions, then write out what you're going to change to be able to achieve the next level of growth for your agency, and then start executing. And if your marketing agency has a remote team and you want to keep your A players for longer, you want to build a stronger team, more engaged team that delivers better work to clients, and therefore you keep your clients for longer, come and check out yanda.io. This is exactly what we built this software for. We're testing it, and the early results and feedback of this software are incredible. So come check us out, yanda.io, and I will see you in the next video.